Erev Tov Chavrim. I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. We're going to be covering a little bit later this evening some very serious issues that are going on in the Middle East. There is a report that is coming out of the Middle East right now that a couple of hours ago that Israel actually struck an Iraqi air base inside of Iraq. That's one of the first times in a long time that Israel has actually reached out that far outside of its own borders to launch missiles at a base in another country. Of course, Syria is on a regular basis. And according to the Amman News, who actually reported this, which they actually got this from Avia, which is a Russian news site, and they were saying there that, let me just pull this back up for you guys real quick here. But they were saying that Iranian forces were allegedly at this Iraqi air base there, and it was an airfield there. There were allegedly missiles there, a cache of some sort of missiles there that Israel was striking inside of Iran. I'll be covering that a little bit later this afternoon, as well as Israel's threat to Russia during negotiations with Russia, the United States, and Israel together. Pretty much a clear threat they made to Russia if Russia doesn't get Iran out of Syria. Things are getting more and more tense all the time. And, when we hear these things, one thing, guys, understand, not all Israelis support what is going on in the Middle East. And that's one thing I hope you guys really understand. Right now, the current administration is pretty bold about what they say about other nations in the region there. And of course, there is an agenda. There is an agenda that also the United States is involved with in overthrowing the 7 nations, according to General Wesley Clark, that were going to be overthrown. And so that agenda is not being diverted from. They're right on course with that. But it doesn't mean that all Israelis support what's happening in the Middle East there. There are some that really believe the biblical promises, and they also believe that when Moses said to the children of Israel, when they come to this land, do not oppress your neighbors, because we were an oppressed people at one time as well, and we've been oppressed many times in our past. Of course, a lot of times we get that oppression because of our own sins, and that's just like the message I did the other day. That's what I was trying to share with you guys there. Israel has still yet to acknowledge their own guilt. And God said clearly through the prophet Hosea that he would return to his place until they do acknowledge their guilt. But yet, for some reason, so many people in the Christian circles are just cheerleading right along with every war crime that can be possibly done in the Middle East. I guess it's going to end up in nothing but another bloodbath. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way it's going to go. Anyway, I'll cover these things later this evening with you guys. There's quite a few things going on. We're going to talk about the oil tanker, the Iranian oil tanker. I'll show you some footage there the Iranians have released there. The Iranians also released the Russians that were on board. There were Russian citizens on this British oil tanker, and we'll share some of that with you, as well as an armed caliber cruise missile submarine, Russian submarine, surfacing right off of the coast of Latvia. I guess Russia's trying to show their own little flex of muscle there in the Middle East there. But Russia knows, though, they're outgunned. But they're all serving for an agenda. Unfortunately, nobody's in it for good. I'm Steve Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. Erev Tov. Thank you for your support of this broadcast. Talk to you later this evening.